It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
All right, gang, welcome into episode 127 of The Border War. It is July 16th, and BG, I'm not sure if it registered with you. 2 years ago tomorrow.
That's what I was just pointing at.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Well, I pointed at the date, and I shrugged and held up a 2.
I thought you were pointing at the time. Like, we have plenty of time. 2 years ago tomorrow, The Border War was born.
Yes.
It's been
the
a hell of a
missing
ride.
show.
The missing. God, I wish we could find that somewhere.
You know what I thought I had
man.
the other day? I can't remember what it was. Oh, I was looking back. I think it was on our Facebook page, and I went all the way back to our very first post, and it was that link.
And it was just a dead link?
It just goes nowhere. It's gone.
The lost episode, man. One for the ages. Well, anyway, thank you to everyone who's been along for the ride the last couple of years.
The only thing I remember about that show is you showed me a picture of Shaquille O'Neal's funky toe.
And like I said, I
almost made me vomit.
I remember there was no music, no anything. We hit a button.
Play, and I just was like, I guess we should start talking.
It went on for like 2.5 or 3 hours.
It was a long show. We did some long ones back on Meredith. That's for sure.
Man. You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. You can follow my partner BG at BG_Border War. And I, with a new Twitter handle.
Finally.
am at Tar Heel TanMan.
All one word.
All one word.
No underscores.
No underscores.
I love it,
no
man.
numbers. Tar Heel TanMan. I thought that would be that was my show birthday present to you.
You may be up to 25 or 30 followers by the time we get off the air today with that kind of a smooth handle.
I might be.
I mean,
I don't know if I'll attract any Clemson or South Carolina fans with that one, but listen to the show. I try to call the balls and strikes as I see them.
I would rather people follow the show than follow me anyway. I mostly just retweet stuff. I mean, I'm not going to be that Twitter warrior. There's some people that really seem to care about that. I care about what we do on the air.
Yeah, there was a time when you were a Twitter warrior. We were just discussing off air, but
well, I mean, I gave it about 3. Oh, yeah, yeah, that time, yeah.
Oh, man, we're also on Facebook, so you can like and share our Facebook page as well. BG, we're at that time of the point. We're at that point of the summer, mid-July. Now the summer league is over with, so basketball is we can kind of take a step back for about 3 weeks before I start getting ramped up into college basketball.
We're going to take a longer break than that, man.
But the NFL training camps are opening up. College football, I think we're 7 weeks away from the first NFL regular season game.
I think we're 40 or 39 or 40 days from the first week of college football.
That's what I was going to say, about 5 or 6 weeks or so for college football. I wanted to get your take on something I saw the other day. There was an article on USA Today, and it's talked about. I did read
that before my phone went dead.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's probably what caused your phone to go dead.
It didn't help. I was on like 4%.
Oh, and that's what did it then.
Yeah.
But it's titled, "The SEC Needs to Evolve Football Scheduling Amid Athletic Department Budget Cuts." And it goes on to mentions Auburn and Ole Miss particularly. It mentions Auburn made $82 million in 2007. By 2017, that number had jumped up to $147.5
Well, just to be clear, I don't want to call you out. I think it's talking about total revenue. I don't think that was profit. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I think that was gross, not net.
Either way, they
in 10 years.
Yeah, in 10 years they almost doubled it.
2007 is really when the SEC thing sort of started. Yeah. I think LSU won it that year, and that's sort of when it became like that decade. I think is really that's when the SEC was just the entire.
That's when that championship run kind of
started. And
the
network came along during those years.
But it mentions Auburn, despite that jump in revenue increase, they're cutting their budget in all sports by 10%. Ole Miss, they're cutting by 8.5%. Now, BG, these are two SEC schools. They're in they are in the big daddy of the conferences when it comes to college
one
football.
Of those two schools, Auburn, is one of the big daddy.
They
schools
are one of the.
SEC.
They are one of the big daddy schools. So, BG, what gives? Is this some sort of
I didn't go look.
I think on college football.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know why this article is just about the SEC. Now, you might say that the SEC budgets got blown way up 6-7 years ago because that SEC network money started to come in. And so those budgets might have gone beyond where they needed to be. But I don't think it's just the SEC that's dealing with struggles of getting people to attend games.
I think that's across the board.
Just football. Football's the sport you're going to end up talking about because for 90% of the schools out there, it's the sport that pays the bills, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure you guys make good money from basketball. Probably more money from basketball than football, but maybe not.
I'd be interested to know that.
Just
though.
Because of the numbers of people that can fit into to Keenan versus. I mean, I don't know, but obviously at your standard SEC school, South Carolina, we've got a big basketball arena, but even when it's full, you can't compete with the prices and the people. I mean, football's paying the bills, and even in good sports where you're selling it out, like baseball, they're still going to lose money. They're still going to lose money because it seats 7,000 people.
Well, I tell you, I think college football is kind of in this weird spot because we've talked about it before, like
just interest level in general.
Yeah, it feels like it might be oversaturated a little bit. Like we have so much of it. It's been pounded, especially down here in the South. Like it's been pounded for the last decade or so, and it grew. Yeah, it grew way too big to be contained down here anyway.
Right. No, and I think that's part of what you're seeing is just sort of it's sort of like when the stock market sort of corrects itself. Mm-hmm. They'll say. I think it just got a little bit top heavy with some of those SEC schools in particular, but I think it's an odd time because you've got this huge interest in college football, sort of coinciding with the fact that there's only 2 schools in college football. And so, everybody else, we've talked about this, man. I don't know. Okay, let's look at you guys, for example. Okay, so Matt Brown's bringing in a top 10 class next year if everything holds together. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of positive momentum. Now, you guys are probably not going to see any benefits from any of that this year in football. But let's say that class holds together. Let's say that he brings in a top 15 class next year. All right. Does anybody at North Carolina really think that you're going to become Clemson or Alabama?
No.
And so that's the thing. That's the thing. And I think South Carolina fans have long been past. People, you can find an idiot in any fan base, but most Gamecock fans that I know, that I talk to on message boards or I know in person, they know that just kind of holding your own in this conference for us is about all you can expect right now. And it's hard to be excited about that. It's hard to be excited about it because everything in the world revolves around Clemson and Alabama playing for national titles. And no, it doesn't help when you have to play them both. But we've talked about this. If I was a college football fan of Colorado, I'm not paying big money to go sit in that stadium and watch them.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think is the bigger problem in college football? Because I've got a couple of things. I think, one, the in-home experience, me, is much better.
It used to be that a lot of games weren't on.
Right, but now you can sit at home and you can turn on your TV at noon and you can watch college football until 2 o'clock in the morning if you want to.
Oh, sure.
I think part of it is the schedule. I think fans are tired of going out and watching Auburn play UT Chattanooga and beat them 65-3 when it's sitting out there in the sun for 4.5 hours watching that. But to me, a big problem is, and you just kind of hit on this, the gap between the haves and the have-nots in college football is bigger than I would say it's bigger right now than it has ever been.
Oh, yeah.
It is bigger than it has ever been.
Oh, yeah.
There are 130 Division I teams, so how many teams on average, now we know if Vanderbilt goes undefeated, they're going to get in the playoff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about realistically, how many teams would you say are in the mix to make a 14 playoff every year?
5?
I was going to say
6.
I was going to say 8, maybe 8. Even then, you're talking about 6% of college football has an opportunity to win a national championship. Now, if we're going to be realistic about it, right now it's 2. Right now it's
because
2.
Those quarterfinal games have been worthless.
Yeah.
Worthless.
No.
Wipes. Just blowouts.
In college basketball, 19.4% of the schools in college basketball have an opportunity to win a national championship. They're not all going to, but they have an opportunity to get in.
No, I know exactly.
In college baseball, it goes up to 21%.
Yeah.
In college football, if we say 8 teams, and that is being super generous.
Super.
I mean, but you're talking 6%. 6%.
Right.
I mean,
and I mean, maybe it's always been that way, but when I was a kid, if you won your bowl game, and if you won 9 or 10 games, I mean, people weren't obsessed with the national title, and I don't know what changed about it.
I think this playoff, to me, I thought, for years I thought, we get a playoff, it's going to be great, it's going to be so interesting. You said it. The semifinals, every year basically we've had this thing. The semifinals have been duds. What is it? 4 out of 5 years or whatever it's been. It's been Clemson versus Alabama way more often than it hasn't been.
Oh, sure.
And, I think
there's absolutely no reason to think it won't be again.
No, and I think the playoff has been one of the worst things that has hit college football in 20 years.
Now, let's just be real clear here. This is not a North Carolina, South Carolina football discussion. This is the health of college football as a whole. So if you're a Clemson fan and you're listening, or if you're an Alabama fan and you're listening, this has nothing to do. Well, obviously, it's been healthy for you.
Yeah, life is great in Tuscaloosa and Clemson, but
I would argue
everywhere else.
I would argue that title and winning it has become slightly less prestigious. I mean, I think there's more and more people looking at their recruiting and just saying, well, I guess they are going to just keep winning it. Kind of like we talked about, just to make an NBA analogy, if Kawhi Leonard had gone to the Lakers, it was the way we were going to talk about that team.
It was going to be over.
Well, okay. Yeah. You've got 4 All-Stars on your okay, I get okay. Yay for you. I mean, but you're right. It's not in a sport. Okay, so I was a high school teacher, right, for 6 years, and you have good classes and you have bad classes, and what happens is, if you really observe every kid in the room, is that classes tend to break one way or the other, right? And there's very little you can do to break it back, and it has to do with how many actually great kids you have in a room, or how many actually bad kids you have in a room. And whether or not they can pull it over that hill one way or the other. Well, in recruiting, I think that's what sort of has started to happen. Clemson and Alabama, Georgia, a couple of other teams, Ohio State, have put together the kind of reputation now so that they're just getting recruits. I mean, they're just getting them. And I don't know what could happen to stop that, because it's broken that way. And there's not really anything the other schools competing with them can do to keep that from happening. And it's not really, I mean, this is the big fault of college football to me. And I talked about this last year. It's not really about football anymore. It's about recruiting.
Do you think, I know that they have resisted the urge or resisted the call to expand the playoff at all costs. Like that would...
I think there's a chance they know what we're saying.
They act like that would be the nuclear bomb in this whole thing, but is expanding the playoff the only way to make the thing worth watching?
You could make the argument that it really exposes it even more.
I'm just thinking
for being a sham.
I'm just thinking, how many years have we had this thing now? 5?
Yeah,
5 of. Take the Pac-12. Like, they got Oregon in the first year. They got Washington in a couple years ago, but everybody knew that was just going to be, a sacrificial lamb for Alabama that year. Other than that, like, the Pac-12 hasn't really even been close to getting anybody in. Like the Big Ten, other than Ohio State, like the Big Ten hasn't come close to really getting anybody else in. So you have these major conferences.
Michigan State made it in once, right?
But again, what they get beat like 40 to nothing.
Right. It was a white.
I mean, it was just pounded,
and it should have been worse. I mean, it was really not even a second half game. It was just
So I mean, to me, if college football wants to, I guess. If they want to fix some of this stuff, and one, you've got to fix the schedule, and you can't have Alabama playing Chattanooga.
And the article talked about that.
And it talked about that. But to me, one thing it didn't touch on that is just my personal opinion. I think you've got to expand this playoff thing because it just with the 4 teams. Look, right now you said it. We already know the 2 teams that are going to be playing in the championship. It's middle of July. We know now. July 11th or whatever the championship, January 11th, whatever the date is, it's going to be those 2.
We knew January 11th last year.
Well, and we sat here last year before we previewed the season, and between the 2 of us, we nailed all four of the playoff teams. Mm-hmm. I think we each had 3 of the playoff teams.
Not patting ourselves on the back. I think his point here is,
and it wasn't
you guys
that hard.
Could have done it too.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard.
Notre Dame was your.
That was my sneaky pick.
Yeah,
right. But.
Right.
I mean, come on. You didn't have to dig that far to find it if you wanted to.
I think I missed on Auburn and you missed on Notre Dame, and both of us were right on 3 other teams.
I was going to say, I think we each got 3 right, but to me, I consider myself a casual college football fan. I'm not a diehard college football fan.
I'm becoming casual.
My interest level is just kind of because I look at it and go, there's only 2 teams that really have an opportunity. But if you want to draw me back in, maybe, like I said, all 68 teams in the NCAA tournament they're not going to win a national championship. Okay, Arkansas Pine Bluff is not winning a national championship.
Right.
But I watch them because if you stuck Michigan State and Oregon in a playoff game as a 3-6 match or whatever, like I would be more drawn to that than I would be watching Michigan State and Oregon in a Rose Bowl. That doesn't mean anything.
It feels like to me college football tries to add new elements like the playoff, but they want to keep the antiquated system of the bowl games because of tradition, quote unquote. But they're not the traditional things.
Listen, you can't. That to me, that's one you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either we're gonna kind of change the way we do things, or we're gonna keep doing the same. You can't dip your toe in the water and then run away.
Adding the 12th regular season game to me was not a great decision. 90% of the time, that's a throwaway
and that's
blowout.
That's what it's become.
And it eliminated any conversation you could have had about having an extra round of playoffs or about because all that stuff. I mean, the schedule's so full, but full of what?
They are 6 weeks. Where you could be playing football. Like,
absolutely.
Division III doesn't give athletic scholarships.
Right.
They play all the way through there. Their playoffs go all the way through. So this idea that no, we can't do it, that's baloney.
And in some cases, I mean, I happen to know for a fact the year that Wofford, I think I've said this on the show before, Wofford, who's and obviously a Division I school, but subdivision, I don't even know what they call it, championship, FCS. All right. They played a game at Montana, and they won that game. Mm-hmm. But the day before they traveled, which would have been like 3 days before the game, those players were taking exams. I mean, like there are schools like Wofford all over the place where the athletes do not have separate dorms. They're not getting tutors. They're not getting anything. So if those guys can do it, come on.
Nah. Move on to another topic that is a little closer to my heart. The Dallas Cowboys, in case you haven't...
We just left the Redskins off the roster today. I mean, no discussion at all.
Nothing going on. What are you doing? Alex Smith got his brace off.
Yay!
Like he still gets to keep his leg, guy.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. I mean, that's a sad situation.
No,
but people are still talking about whether or not he can come back and play. And I'm like, y'all need to stop it, man. That man's leg was almost amputated.
He's not 26 years old.
Yeah, he'd like to, I assume he'd like to walk and play with his kids at some point in the next decade. But anyway, more pressing matters, more important matters than appendages. The Dallas Cowboy.
Oh boy,
the Dallas Cowboy contract situation. BG, Dak Prescott. This has been a hot topic.
Explain what's going on to me because I didn't even actually realize you guys still had a team.
Oh, yeah, well, we do.
Dallas. I thought Dallas was in talks with London.
No, that's you guys. We don't have the offensive logo. We don't have the insensitive logo. We're not going to become the London silly nannies like you guys are. You're going to sign up Peter Griffin and.
You know what? It's so hard to argue with somebody who's wrong about everything and doesn't know it.
I put in Madden the other day, and I meant to send you a picture of it, and I forgot to send it to you. But
I'm glad you forgot. I don't even know what you did, and I'm glad.
I created my owner. I named him Brian Gregory, and I moved Washington to London. I did. And it said, owner Brian Gregory sends the Redskins to London. What a day! But anyway, Dak Prescott's contract is going to be up. He's up for, I assume they're negotiating now. He's going to get in the ballpark of $30-something million. That's
where would that
range.
put him rank-wise? Because I think that makes more sense for a discussion than the number.
I don't have them pulled up in front of me. I said I don't need the extra stuff pulled up today. Carson Wentz has got a deal. I'd imagine if they had done his deal a few weeks ago, last year perhaps, the number wouldn't be quite so high. But these things turn over. The next guy up gets more. And Carson Wentz's deal has kind of set the market on that, and it's got some Cowboy fans, really up in arms about it. But I think
they've got up in arms. How so?
That they don't want to pay him that kind of money.
Gotcha. That's what I thought you meant. But
the discussion recently has been what to do with Ezekiel Elliott, the timeline, who do you take care of, in what order, because you've got Prescott, you've got Amari Cooper up for deals now, and with Ezekiel Elliott, look, he's got 2 years left on his deal. You can franchise tag him at the end of that, so you got 3 more years, supposedly you got 3 more years before you have to do anything with an Ezekiel Elliott contract. From an outsider perspective, what do you do? Because I have my opinion on what to do, but I want to hear your take on this.
And this is going to sound counterintuitive, but in today's NFL, with the way things work, I think I would rather have Dak on my team for the next 5 years than Zeke, because I think there's a good chance he's going to be healthy for 5 more years. I don't know that you can say that about Zeke. I think now, if there's a running back or a handful of running backs that you pay big money to in the NFL, don't get me wrong, Zeke's on that list. He might be the best running back in the NFL. And if he's not, he's in the top 3. Mm-hmm. But I'm really hesitant to give running backs big money ever. Not just that, Zeke, like this latest thing that's going on with him, to me sounds completely stupid, like he didn't actually really do anything. But that stuff's going to keep happening with him. He's got a red flag on him. The NFL doesn't like him. And
no, he's marked with the scarlet letter now.
He is going to miss games. He's going to get suspended again. If it's not this season, it'll be next season. Something's going to happen. If he was going to stay out of trouble, he would have started staying out of trouble. And again, don't misunderstand me. I don't think it's entirely his fault. But he's not getting a fair shot at this point. Like what happened with Steven Garcia in Colombia. The stuff he actually got in trouble for, he got kicked out for at the end, was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But he had gotten himself into that situation where he wasn't going to get treated fairly, and he didn't. So, that all goes into it too. But at that position, look, running backs just don't last. They don't last. And his running style is very physical. And
he's threatening a holdout. He's got 2 years left on his deal. It's not a situation where he's in the last year of his deal like Le'Veon Bell was. He's got 2 years left on this deal.
I'll put it this way. There have been many, 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 many cases in the NFL of plug-and-play running backs working. We saw it for years in Denver, right? Mm-hmm. We see it every year in New England.
You saw it last year in Los Angeles. Look at C.J. Anderson when Ty Gurley
comes in the playoffs and just you guys have an amazing offensive line. But I'll tell you what is not a plug and play position, and that is quarterback. And I don't think that Dak is as good as you think he is, but I still think he's in the top half of the league. And that right there, you can't just go get another quarterback. In fact, ask the Miami Dolphins, man. They have been trying to get a quarterback for 30 years.
I don't need to ask the Miami Dolphins. We lived it. We lived it. Go back and look at the list of names between Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. We know what it's like to wander around in the quarterback wilderness. The people that are dead set against paying Dak Prescott. Look, do it.
So you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will even go a step further. I would put Ezekiel Elliott so far down on the bottom of the list of people who are coming up for contract deals, it's not even funny. Yeah. I would not, if he wants to hold out. If he wants to sit out. I'm not entertaining giving a guy a new contract when I can, I hate to use this word control, but when I can control the situation for 3 more seasons.
Why do you hate to use that word, though? This is big business, man. This is what you got.
But, a lot of it is for the reason you just said. Because when he leaves the building, like I think he's an awesome teammate. I think he's a great guy in the locker room. I think he's great on the sidelines. All those things were problems with Dez Bryant, right? Like you always heard different stories, like he wasn't that good of a guy in the locker room. Like I think Zeke's I think he's a pretty good guy in the building. But when he goes out of the building, when he leaves the building, like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know who he's surrounding himself with. I don't entirely trust him. Yeah, the last thing with the security guard in Vegas, that's not a big deal, and it's probably just a bunch of junk.
You're hearing about
it keeps happening.
Right.
And, it's going, like you said, it's going to happen again and again, and he's like on the verge of getting the Pac-Man Jones treatment.
He's on TMZ's list.
Yes.
There are guys outside the sports world, and there are only, what would you say, 15 guys in the NFL that TMZ is checking on every day.
He's one of them.
He's one of them.
He's one of them.
And so if anything happens, it's going to be known.
I don't trust that whole situation. And again,
he is a running back.
And he's a running back. And when I look at, when I look over at the LA Rams, and like they tried to do Todd Gurley right? They tried to give him his deal and do it. And then last year, by the end of the season, what did he get in the play? How many carries did he get in the Super Bowl? Like 4?
Yeah.
Like he didn't even get a carry in the first half, did he? Like 1?
Still confused about it.
Like, and now the Rams are hamstrung with this thing.
Right.
I'm not touching it. You got to pay Dak Prescott because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything.
Yep.
Nothing. Everything else is a non-starter.
And I mean, this is one of those things. People can have their own opinions. I don't see how that's an opinion.
No.
I just don't. I don't see how
you can be uncomfortable with the number, but the number is what the number is. He didn't make the number. The market controls the number, and if the market says this is what this is his value at the position he plays. Yeah, maybe you can kind of like we talked with Kimball Walker for all that time. Maybe you can lay the situation out to him and say, look, we've still got to pay, Amari Cooper and Jalen Smith and some other guys on that defense. We just paid DeMarcus Lawrence. Like the money has to get spread around a little bit. And maybe you can talk him into taking a little less. But he says, no, I want my money. You kind of have to give it to him. You don't have much of a choice.
Yeah, no, I'm agree. I think if there's anybody holding all the cards here, it's Dak because again, he's performed well above the league average for 3 seasons.
Well,
and he's come out and he's done it. Yeah, he's had bad looks, but I mean, again, a lot of this has to do. We can talk about the personalities all we want. Because let's be honest, if Zeke played quarterback and had twice as many problems off the field, I'm like, pay him.
It's not a discussion.
It's really not about. That's just sort of like pepper on top of the salad.
Yeah.
The salad itself is he plays running back, and it's sort of like defensive end. I mean, there are tons of guys. He's an A+ running back, A+.
No doubt.
But there are a bunch of B+ guys out there. And no, they won't break a 40-yard run. But there's a lot of guys who can get you that 8 yards, 6 yards. A lot of those guys, man.
Yeah, everybody likes to knock Dak, stats and numbers and things, and he played poorly when I always go back and look whenever he had that really bad stretch. Either Elliott was suspended a couple years ago,
right,
and they struggled without Elliott.
Or at the beginning of last season when they had no identity offensively at all.
Yeah, when Elliott was out, they had some offensive line guys out too. Tyron Smith was out, I think, at the same time in that Atlanta game where somebody from Atlanta got like 4 sacks in one game.
Yeah, I know. I remember. Yes.
He just got killed. And then last year, you said they didn't have any identity. He had nobody to throw the ball to. And when they rectified that halfway through the year with the Amari Cooper trade,
I mean, Tavon Austin
was amazing.
Was his main target for like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he was catching 1 ball, 2 balls. I mean,
but they make the trade. They bring in Amari Cooper, and all of a sudden,
Dak
Prescott's numbers,
as well as I remember this time last year when we started talking about the Cowboys, we both said like Cole Beasley's your main target. Like, how is that? How can you let him be in this situation? And I mean, we've been saying it in Washington for years, right? Who are you going to throw the football to? And we still don't have an answer.
I guess my only area of concern with where this comes to, and we'll put a bow on it here in a minute, is if you decide, okay, listen, we're going to play our hand here. We're going to play this thing out with Elliott. We're just going to we're going to let this thing ride for a little while. Does that become a problem? Does he become a problem on the inside? Because I said I don't think he's a problem on the inside. I think his issues come. When he has free time, but does it become a problem on the inside like it did with Pittsburgh?
The right thing that you've got to stare him down. And the real question I want to ask is, and I know that Jerry is not quote unquote as involved as he has before, but what's his relationship with Zeke like? Because if Zeke is one of his boys, y'all might be in bad shape because you will be paying him. And I'm right. You know I'm right. And if it was in Washington, it would be the exact same way.
For the record, I think we will wind up paying him. I think eventually this deal will get done. I'm just saying I don't do it right now.
Would you have thought the Le'Veon Bell deal in Pittsburgh would have gotten done at this point in the negotiations?
I would have thought it would have been pretty close to being done.
Yeah.
But he was also on the franchise tag, and this was gonna be one. Like I said, Dallas can control Ezekiel Elliott's career for the next 3 years.
They've got a lot more clout. They've got a lot more leverage in this than Pittsburgh.
They can play this thing out a little while. I think it eventually gets done, but what I'm not going to do is if you do the deal now, he's 23. If you do the deal now,
we're not going to come back in 2 years and renegotiate.
But when this deal is over with, you're going to be on the hook. He's going to be looking for another big payday. Like, I'm not paying a running back with his style and the way he runs. I'm not giving him 2 big paydays. I'll give you 1.
Well,
I'm not giving you 2.
And again, there's a really good chance that when he gets his first big payday, most running backs don't get 2. Most running backs aren't in the league more than 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, he will be, barring some unforeseen catastrophic injury. Well, yeah. Hopefully he won't have any Mike Tyson issues or anything like that going on. But from a football standpoint, barring injury, he's gonna be a relevant back. But and don't get me wrong. Now that's the flip side of that is he knows he's a running back. He wants to get paid now.
Well, he's trying to get paid twice.
Well,
and I don't blame him.
What I'm saying is, he also knows that if you don't get paid early when you're a running back, you might not get paid. Because that's the other side of that.
We look across the league. Speaking of running backs, you look out in L.A., and I did get that right. I made it a point to get that right. L.A., not San Diego.
Melvin Gordon.
I think we said San Diego all year long.
We're not the only ones. I think we should keep saying they're the San Diego Chargers.
We're just going to speak them back into existence.
Yeah.
But the Chargers, you got Melvin Gordon out there.
Who is one of those? What would you call him? An A minus?
I'd give him an A minus, B plus. He's
in the top 8 backs in the league.
Yeah, and somebody today made a good point. Like one of the games he missed last year, Austin Eckler had 11 carries for 75 yards.
Yeah,
you can be replaced, man. But you got.
And he had some. I think Levitard found one from last season this morning. He had 14 carries for 28 yards kind of game. I mean, that's going to happen.
He's good, but I wouldn't put him in the same category as I would Elliott. And we've even seen Elliott have a few of those games.
Yeah.
But you got Melvin Gordon looking for his new deal. He's going to hold out. The one that interests me to no end, Jadeveon Clowney in Houston, the Texans are trying to tag him. The tag number they've assigned to him is somewhere like 15 and some change million a year. But they tagged him as an outside linebacker. BG, I heard yesterday.
We've seen this issue go on with tight ends a lot over the years.
You know how many snaps he played at linebacker last year? They said he played 33 snaps.
And that's too many.
And that, yeah,
because he can't cover anybody.
He should be about 0, but they're trying to tag him at a linebacker franchise tag. It's costing him, the difference is like $2 million and some change between an end and the outside linebacker.
It makes you wonder if that's why he played 30-something snaps at linebacker.
He played 33 snaps.
Because it's not a football decision. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
What is that? Two snaps a game? Not even 2 snaps a game. BG, I think that some of these NFL players, he's fighting this thing. They're filing a grievance. I think these NFL players are looking around. They're seeing the way maybe some of these baseball players last summer kind of forced their way around. But the big thing is the NBA. Like 40% of the league this past year were free agents. They're moving around. Paul George signs a new deal. 1 year later, he decides he's not happy. Forces his way out of Oklahoma City. And the NFL players are sitting here going, what about us?
And and again, look at the differences in the game and what you can expect from a health standpoint. Absolutely. And the NFL, as far as money intake,
no.
The NBA isn't in the room with them folks. No one is.
I feel like
Hollywood, maybe.
I feel like we're on the verge in the NFL of a big time shakeup in the way business is done between the players, and I think the players are getting ready to start trying to take back some of that power from the.
Well, I mean, I don't doubt it, and I'd be, I remember thinking when that deal got signed late in the summer, was it 4 years ago or so, that the next time this comes back around, and I'm not even sure when the next CBA is going to be, but it's going to be ugly.
I think that they're in negotiations now. I think after not this upcoming season, I want to say after next season.
It's going to be ugly, and I'm not. I think there's about a 35-40% chance you see a strike.
See,
I think it could go that far.
I definitely think so. You heard,
but the problem is the way it's, and we've talked about. I mean, the owners. Dan Snyder last summer bought a $27 million yacht.
That's insane.
Okay,
that is
insane. Do you think? What are you going to do to him? Do you think he cares if you hold out? Because some of the stuff, the revenue that comes in,
they get regardless, right? They get that TV money regardless, right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. They can wait you out. I don't think you can beat them, not unless they just decide. New owners like David Tepper. Maybe there are some guys who are a little more progressive, more
Maybe they have a little more clout in the room,
right? Man, but the Jerry Jones and Dan Snyders of the world, man, you can't beat them. You can't. There's no way.
What about the 18-game proposal? You heard about that, right?
Well, I mean, I know it's been on the table for years. It's been on the table
for the NFL owners have wanted that for years. The latest proposal that
awful decision.
I heard got shot down. An 18-game schedule with a 16-game limit per player. So like the Green Bay Packers.
But they're going to expand the rosters then, right?
I think
that's been in talks too.
Well, I think to me that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
to expand the roster. I don't know if that was. I can't remember if that was tied specifically to that. But could you imagine the Green Bay Packers having to go? Okay, we're gonna sit Aaron Rodgers for this game.
Yeah.
No, that's absurd.
Yeah.
But I heard somewhere.
But that's something the players. Well, it's not something they're specifically requesting. It's the owners trying to be proactive and take care of a concern so that it gets pushed through without the players being able to challenge it.
Well, the other thing the other thing I heard was if you go to 18 games, what's the average player career now? Like
2.5 seasons, I think. I mean, that's what I've always read.
I think I saw somewhere where the numbers wise, it was like 3.2 years or something like that. Go to 18 games, that cuts it down to like 2.5.
And don't get me wrong, not all of that's for injuries. A lot of these guys are just getting replaced because, unlike the NBA, the talent coming in from college football can replace you.
Well, there aren't that many, like you said, there aren't that many irreplaceables. There aren't that many stars, and so. Yeah, when you're really cheap, we'll play, and then whenever you decide, okay, when your deal's up and it's time to pay you a little bit more, I can go get another guy who does the same thing you do.
Because I think your average fan, and I hope this doesn't sound insulting, but people should do some more research into what your normal NFL player is not the guy you hear about. Some of these, I mean, they're making good money, but they're making it for like 3 and 4 seasons, maybe.
If that.
Maybe. And so, over a lifetime, that's not the end of it for them. And most of them are not getting on the NFL Network when they're done.
No, but you just look at some of the issues that are being brought up in some of these CBA talks. Like I heard about the 18-game proposal. I fell out of my chair laughing. Like this is insane.
It reminds me of the Major League plan to split the Tampa Bay team.
Oh my God!
It's about like that. It's that good of an idea.
But I do. I think that we could be on the verge. Now I don't know how successful they'll be.
Yeah.
But to me, I think you've at least got to take a shot.
Well, it's not going away.
If you have any idea that down the road you'd like to be able to be seen more as a partner than a commodity, and I don't know how real that possibility is.
Right.
But at some point you've got to take a stand. And when I look at a guy like Clowney, and you're causing $2 million is not that much in the grand scheme of things for these pro athletes. But it's the point that you're trying to nickel and dime me with a position that's not really what I even play.
There's no provision that the players can say that's not even my position. I mean, what's honestly to keep them from saying, you know what, Dak Prescott's we're going to pay him like a punter because he punted once last year.
I thought that exact same thing last night.
You're really close to that.
Like if I quit kick once out of the back of the end zone, are you going to try? Can you try and tag me as a punter? That's the exact thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, great minds, man. Great minds.
All right, that is it for episode 127. We hope we scratched the football itch. You can email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to join our Fantasy Football League. Spots are going fast. I think we're up to 10, so we've got a few more left. If you're interested in that, we're on Yahoo. Just search for the Border War Podcast. Join our league. Take on BG and I in some fantasy football this year. We appreciate you listening, and we will see you guys all